Yes, good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible and visible as well, right? So, yes, so good evening, everyone. I welcome you to day 3 of the C++ Bootcamp, right? But before get starting, can you let me know if I'm audible and visible properly? And also, is my screen shared? Okay, good evening. Good evening. Good evening, Raju. Good evening. Okay, so yes, so uh, right before get starting, right? So let's just have 5 minutes for the doubt session, right? So if you have any doubts from the previous 2 days, you can just let me know. You can just pour out your questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them out. All right. And so let's see if you have any doubts or not, right? Good evening Anku, good evening Sayed, good evening. So yes, acha, in the meanwhile, I'll let you know the topics that we'll cover today. So today we'll be covering the flow controls, right? The if else loops and things like that. That's known as flow controls. With that, we'll be doing functions. Sorry, before functions, I'll be doing loops, right? And the last part would be functions, right? Most important, right? Very much used, and I'll also take up an interview question that is most widely asked, right, in the industry. So please make sure that you are staying till the end of the session, all right, and also marking the attendance as well in order to generate the certificates, right? Okay. So yes, any doubts from the previous 2 days? Anyone? Acha, by the way, before asking any doubts, did you guys practice yesterday's session? Yesterday's session was all about practicing arithmetic operations, right? Equality signs, and what all we did yesterday. Let me just scroll up, right? Yeah, we did some examples of triple equal to we did some examples of equality operations, right? We did how to use modulo and what is the use of modulo here. By the way, I hope everyone has also done the assignment as well. Yesterday's assignment was based on this only, right? Finding out the modulo, finding out whether the number is odd or even, right? And yep, we have here concatenations, right? We did data types, int, char. I think we also did float. No, we did double. We did boolean as well, right? So I hope you must have revised yesterday's session, right? If not, I would request you to please go through that again, because if you will not revise again, there's no point of, right, learning, or there's no point of watching today's lectures, right? So assignment question solution, can you share with us? Yeah, okay, I'll share. But it was very simple, right? You just had to find the module. Nonetheless, I'll share you the solution as well. Do not worry about it. Right? So yep. Okay, so no doubts. Shall I proceed further if there are no doubts? Yep. Anyone? So, acha, let me know one thing. Uh, what do you mean by what do you mean by sky values, right? So let's just answer the question, right? I hope. Let's see how many of you are prepared for today's lecture or not. So, what are sky values? Yes, anyone would like to answer that? What do you mean by sky values? Yes. Let's see who's got an answer to that one. What do you mean by sky values? Anyone? Come on, come on. I'm just waiting for the answer. Aditi says American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Aditi, I'm not asking the full form, right? I'm asking what does it mean, right? Why do we use SKY values and what is the definition? The full form I also know, right? Full form will not help you answer questions, right? Represents the character variable in numbers. Exactly said by Sayed. So he says that it is a representation of the characters in form of numbers, right? So as I told you that C++ is strictly typed, right? So it has got integers, and if you try to assign a character value in an integer, it will try to convert that particular integer into its that particular character into its corresponding integer values. All right. Yes. All right. So yes, each key has its own mathematical value, which is the ASCII value. Exactly, right? So this is all about ASCII value. So acha, I told you to learn two ASCII values, right? So one was small a and other was capital A, right? Can you let me know the ASCII value without looking? Can you let me know the ASCII values of small a? Yes, anyone? What will be the ASCII values of small a and capital A respectively? Anyone? Yes, okay. Small a is 97. I received an answer from Anku and Aryan. What about others? Yes. Capital A is 65, right? Capital A is represented by 65, and small a is represented by 95, right? And also, let's suppose you want to find the value of C, right? So what did I tell you? How do we find the values of corresponding digits or characters? Let's suppose A has 95, right? And all the characters are, in just lined up one together. So you have B, right? B will have 98, and then C will have 99, right? And similarly is the case with the capital characters as well. So B will be going to have a value of 66, and C will be going to have a value of 67, right? Yes. Okay. So that was just a short, a quick revision about ASCII values. Now let's just quickly get ahead. Let's just start with the first topic of the day, and that is flow controls, right? Flows, right? So before coming to the topic of flow control, right, I would just like to tell you, right? Let's suppose you have this is your code area, right? And let's suppose you have written some lines of code, right? You have written some lines of code, right? So what happens initially is that, right, the flow of the code that will be happening, it's from top to the bottom part, right? So you have a code, you go here and you reach the bottom part of it, right? So uh, let's suppose you have written something here. Let's suppose you have written int a equals to 32, right? And you have written int b equals to, let's suppose, 64, right? I'm just taking any a random example. All right. Now with this, right, with this you have to, right, you, as you can see that it is line by line execution, right? If you want, you cannot just skip any lines in that code. Let's suppose I am having, so please zoom your screen. Okay, is it better now? Okay, so let's suppose I want to have I'm having a situation in that, let's suppose I do not want to have, I want to skip this line, right? I want to skip this line based on certain conditions, right? So how will I do that? Because as I told you, right, it starts from the bottom part, so that the top part, and it goes to the bottom. It reads each and every line, right? So there's something called as, so if you want to just skip some parts, right, there's something called as flow controls, right? So you have if and else, right? Similarly, just like in English vocabulary, you have if I'll do this, then only I do this, right? Let's suppose if you have a degree, then only you'll get a job. This is a condition, right? So this is how we do condition. Let me just quickly come to the code, the implementation part, right? Just give me a second. Yes, let me just open C++ Bootcamp, and yeah, here it is. Yes, yeah. So let me just comment out. Let me just erase out all this part, right? So let's suppose I'm having two variables. Let's suppose int a as 23, and yes, and int b as, let's suppose 65 or 64, right? Now let's suppose I want to have a condition, and what would be that condition? The condition would be, let's suppose, if, right, if a is less than 23, or if a is uh, less than 22, then only I'll visit this line and I'll just print out C out, right? And I'll say entered line number, entered line number 9, right? And else, right? You also have an else. So you can have nested if else. I'll just come to the nested if else part later. I'm just taking an example. And else I'll say just C out entered line number 12. All right, just putting a semicolon here and just putting a semicolon here, right? So see, in this case, what will Khushi, just please try to check the connection from your end. I think from mine it's up to the mark, right? Okay. So what will happen in this case? Let's suppose I told you, right, the code execution starts from the top part to the bottom part, right? Now let's suppose you have int a equals 23 and int b equals to 64. All right. Now I have put a certain condition, right? And what is that condition? I'm just saying that if my a is less than 22, right? So is 23 less than 22? No, it's not, right? In that case, it will not enter this line. In that case, it will, I hope it's better now, Anku, right? I hope it will. No, so it will not enter this line, right? Why will it not enter this line? Because I've mentioned a condition, right? You only have to enter line number 9 if and only if your uh, a, right, the value of a is less than 22. And how will it be, right? It will be if I just increase it to 20 or 21. So let me just execute this line and let me just show you, right? Yes, let me just run this code, right? And right here I have, and it says enter line number 12, right? Why did it only enter line number 12? Why did it not enter line number 9? Just because of certain conditions, right? Those conditions are known as flow controls. I'm just deciding the flow of my execution, right? I can literally decide which lines I want to execute and which lines I do not want to execute based on certain conditions. Let's suppose, right, now I have a question for you. Let's suppose I have this one, right? If a is less than 22, let me just bring it to 22 here, right? And I can also have, so in this case I had if and else, right? I can also have else if. Let's suppose I have else if. I can just mention the condition. Let's suppose if b is also less than 64 or 65 or 62, okay, it will say entered line number 12, line number 12. And I'm having another else if. I'm saying else if, right, b is greater than 60, let's suppose 60, right? B is greater than 60. I will just see out, what will I see out? I'll just see out entered line number. And what is that line number? It's 15 right here. All right. Now the main part, right? If let's suppose if none of these conditions satisfy, which is true in this case, right? None of the conditions will satisfy here. I can have an else, right? Else, what you need to do, you just need to see out no conditions match, right? I'll just see out no conditions match. Now let's run this case and let's see the output here, right? So let me just run this one. Let me just come here. So I will, here in this case I will get an answer entered line number 15 because, okay, let me just do one thing. Let me just have 80 here and let me just run this code now. Right. So it literally said no conditions matched, right? And why was that? Why am I able to get this one? Because I am just deciding, again, I'm just deciding the flow, right? Which lines will enter based. So here you have a condition. I'll just take a snapshot. Yeah. So here it is, right? Here it is, right? So here I will have a condition. So this is called as a condition, right? Again, this is also a condition, same like this, right? This is also a condition, and this here is what I'll tell you what it is, right? So here you come, you just if this condition matches, right? If this matches, so it will either result in true, right, or false, right? Now what do I mean by true and false? It's just that if this condition is satisfied, right, I'll just check if the value of a is less than 22, right? If it is less than 22, it will return me a true, and else it will return me a false, right? And if I get a true here, then only I'll be able to execute this line. Then only the control will come on line number 9. Otherwise it won't, right? Similarly is the case with this one, right? If this will return me true, right? If this will return me true, then only I'll come to this line. Otherwise this line will be skipped. Similarly here, and if, right, if and only if none of these condition match, I'll just come to the else part, right? You say, right, either do this or do this, else you can do this. It's just common English, right? It just behaves the same way, right? Sir, in ninth line we don't understand, please clear again. See, Sahil, right? So this condition that I have mentioned, right, a is less than 20, so this is the condition, right? And I have mentioned if here. That means if my a is less than 22, then only whatever statement is there will be executed, right? I hope this is clear to you. Now how will it check whether it has to enter these lines or not? So this is checked with use of true and false, right? It has two values, one is true and the other is false, right? Remember, if this condition is satisfied, right, if my a is less than 22 here, it will return true, and if and only if it will return true, then only it will come to the execution lines. That's it. If it returns false, let's suppose I have the value of a as 23, right, and 23 is not less than 22, right? I hope everyone knows this, right? 23 is not less than 22. In this case, it will, so this will return me a false, right? This will return me a false, and on returning false, right, if false is returned from here, then only then it will skip this line and it will move to the next execution part, that is here. If this is also false, it will move here, and at the end of the day, right, it will just come here. That means else, right? It, so as you can see, the else part does not have any condition, it does not have any condition, right? So it will not check any condition. If, right, acha, here is a very important point, acha. So let me just ask you, let me just have a quick quiz kind of a thing. Let's suppose I do a value of b as let's suppose 65, right? So in this case, what do you think will be the output? Anyone? Can anyone let me know? So this is the whole code, right? This is the whole code. I'm just wanting from you guys to just let me know the output for this one, and let's see how many of you get that right, and let's see how many of you are paying attention and are quickly getting the crux of coding. Anyone? Enter 12, right? So I got multiple answers. I got an answer from Anku, from Shivam, from Sayed, from Sai, and from Priyanshu Rai, right? So they are saying enter line number 12, right? Aditi, okay. Sandeep, Satyajit, okay. Let me also wait for some other answers from others as well. Let's see. Okay. Anyone else? Come on, guys, quick. Okay, so I think that was enough, right? So yes, right, it will enter line number 12, right? So for those of you who are confused here, let me just tell you one thing, right? If any of the condition matched, right, it will just exit the whole condition flow and it will just return from here. It's not that, okay, so this condition is matched, it will print line number 12, and this is also matched, it will also print line, it will also print line no condition match. It will not, right? If you encounter a 12 here, if you encounter a true anywhere in this flow of control, it will just move out of the flow control and it will just, just come out of the loop. That's it. Not the loop, the flow control. So I'll just show you the output. Let me just run it again. Yeah, so as you guys said, right, it will enter line number 12. As simple as that. All right. So yeah, so that was all about flow controls. Please practice about this, right? So there are conditions like switch, and there are conditions that switch is not used much, right? There are also nested if else, right? So this is a type of a nested if else in which you have if else, then if else, inside if else you have else, if else, inside if else you have if else. So that is also a similar type of that, right? And you also have simple if and simple else. The first example that I told you, right, that was a simple nested loop. That was simple if else loop, right? So yep, with that being said, let's now move to the other part, and those are loops, right? Loops. So yeah. So by the way, any doubts so far? Any doubts? Uh, yes or no? Any doubts so far? Can you just let me know in the chat box? Yes or no? When can I download the certificate? So Sachin, the certificates will be downloaded after marking today's attendance, and if that bar, right, the progress bar that you have, and if it crosses 50%, then only you'll be eligible for certificates. Okay. Ankush says no. Sandeep, Satyajit, all right. Okay. ठीक है. So yes, now the most, right. Okay. ठीक है. Now comes loops, right? So again, what if I ask you, right, what are loops? So what will be your answer, right? What are loops? Then I'll ask you what are the different types of not yeah what are the different types of loops, right? So this is question number 1, and this right here is question number 2. All right. Okay. So right, quickly coming to the question, what do you mean by loops, or what are loops, right? So loops are okay. So as Vanshika says, loops are used when we want to execute same things multiple times. Yep, very rightly said, very correctly said, right? Any other answers? Loops repeat a particular line. Yes, exactly. Loops also repeat a particular line. That's also correct, said by Sandeep. Anku Mishra says for loop, acha, she's saying the types of loops, right? It is for loop, while loop, and do while loop. Yes, exactly. Yes. So yes. So right, as said by mostly, what are loops? Loops are, a statements that help you to execute that help you to execute a part of code multiple times until and unless the condition is satisfied, right? Remember, there is a condition, right? Until and unless that condition will not be satisfied, loops will keep on occurring, right? So you can have an infinite loop, right? When will you have an infinite loop? Whenever you have a condition that is never satisfied, in that case you will have an infinite loop, right? And what are the types of loops that we get? So there are only 3 types of loops in C++. One is for loop, right? One we have as a for loop, then we have as while loop, and lastly we have do while loop, right? This so the last one, the do while one, is not used that much, right? So we can just ignore it. So the loops that are mostly used are for loop and while loop. Okay. Now let's just come to an example and let's just see, right? So let's suppose, okay, let me just do it like this. Yep. Yeah. Let me just comment out this part, or let me just erase out this part, right? Okay. Acha. Let's suppose you have a condition, and that condition is, let's suppose you want to print numbers from 1 to 10, right? Very basic. So what is the first right? If let's suppose you are not aware of programming, right, what is the first thing that would come up, right? It would be just, right, just print numbers. So I'll just see out 1, and I'll just see out, right? So I'll have 1, I'll have 2, I'll have 3, I'll have 4, I'll have 5, I'll have 6, I'll have 7, I will have 8, I will have 9, and lastly I'll have 10, right? This is one way, right? And honestly speaking, no harm in that. If I try to print out this, I'll get numbers from 1 to 10, right? So I got numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? As simple as that. Now, so as you can see, like how untidy it is, right? And let's suppose I want to print numbers from 1 to 1000, right? So will you go ahead and print numbers from 1 to 1000? Will that be the case? Right? So it right, as you can see, right, what is the benefit of loops, right? So let me just first talk about while for loop, right? So for loop is in order to use a for loop, you have to mention a keyword, right? And what is that keyword? That keyword is for. So I'll say for it, and it has 3 things. I'll tell you the 3 things. I'll explain it to you, right? First, let me just type it. For int I equals to 1, I less than equal to 10, I plus plus. And what do I want to have? I want to just see out I, and I also want to print a next line. So for those of you who do not know, endl is used to move the pointer to the next line, right? What that's why we use endl. Now, if I try to run this, right, I will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So as you can see, right, how neat and how tidy and how efficient it has become for me with the help of a loop. Right now, instead of writing the same execution part again and again, I'm just using a for loop, and with that for loop, I'm able to handle things, right? Guys, just give me a second, right? Just give me a second. Oh yeah, so sorry for that, right? So yeah, as I told you, right, now what so as you can see, right, how easy it becomes, to have it. Now, how is that, what are those 3 parameters to use a for loop? So let's suppose let me just let me just have it here, and let me just paste it here, right? So how do you use a for loop, right? What is the conditions that are required to use a for loop? It's very simple, right? So for loop is very simple. Yes, okay. So in order to use a for loop, first of all, you have to mention a keyword. Oh, sorry. You have to mention a keyword, and that keyword is called as for, right? So for loop, if you want to use, you have to use a keyword, and that is for. Now, here are 3 parts to it, right? And what are those 3 parts? The first part is the initialization. So I'll just mention here, it's called as initialization. This part is called a condition, and this is the increment. So I'll just type it here in front of you, right? This is variable initialization, right? And okay, I think it's an S here instead of Z, right? Now, this here is what? It is a condition, okay? And now this here is what? It is incrementing. It is increment slash decrement, right? So again, right? So coming to loops again, it will have 3 parts. The first part will be the initialization. The second part will be the condition, and the third part will be the increment, right? So how will it work? Let me just have a quick dry run, right? Let's see how is it even working internally. Let's suppose initially the ith value is 0, right? Because I have initialized it with sorry, it will be 1 because I have initialized it with 1, right? This is the condition, right? Now it will check. It will check is 1 less than equal to 10? Is it? Yes, it is, right? And if it returns true, remember, right? This is very important. If it returns true, then only it will come to the next line. So it will just see out, right? See out the value of I. What is the value of I? It is 1 here. Now it will again happen the same thing. It will just, so now it will come here, it will just increment I. I plus plus means increasing the value of, so I plus plus is the same as, you know, mentioning I equals to I plus 1, right? So whatever the value of I is, it will just add 1 to that. Now I will be 2. Now it will again check if is my 2 less than or equal to 10, right? It is, right? And hence it will also again print C out I. It will just print 2. And similarly, I'll just have 3, I'll just have 4, I'll just have 5, I'll have 6, I'll have 7, I'll have 8, I'll have 9, and I'll have 10. Now let's assume that my the value of I now is 10, right? Now it will just check, right? It will just check, no, sorry, not 10, it's 11. Let's suppose the value of I is 11, right? Now it will check, right? If I is less than or equal to 10, right? Is the value of 11, is it less than or equal to 10? It is not, right? And that is the only reason it will just return false. Remember I told you that in the condition part itself, that the moment it enter false, right, it will just skip that line. So here I got, and it will just exit the loop, exit the condition, right? Now here I get false, and once I get false, it will just execute, it just come out of the loop, and my program will be terminated, and I'll get the answer as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10, as simple as that, right? And so the next, so I hope this for loop is clear to you. The next we have is a while loop, right? So in order to use a while loop, you have to first declare a variable. Let's suppose, so here you declared an initializer variable here. In this case, you have to declare it explicitly. So the first one is, let's suppose int I equals to 1. Acha, a quick question for you guys. So let's suppose I have a condition. Let's suppose while I is less than equal to 10, I'll just see out the value of I, right? So what according to you will be the output if I execute this line? Let's see who gets this one correctly. What will be the output and why? Also tell me the reason. Right? I'm just waiting. Yes, anyone? Quick, and be quick. Chalo, tell me the output. Come on, guys. I'm waiting. Vanshika says 1. Okay. What about others? I think Vanshika has got the crux of the solution problem, right? And Aditi also says 1. 1. Okay. Yep. Anjali says 1 will be printed infinitely. Okay. Ajay says 1. Sai Bhavesh says 1. Rana says true. Okay. Okay. True is 1 only. Okay. You're meant to say 1 only. Okay. 1 only, 1 infinite times. Okay. 1. Yeah. So, okay. Let's just cut out the suspense, right? And let's just see what are we getting as an answer. So here it is, right? Okay, I am getting infinite amount of ones, right? So I'm still getting one, right? It's still printing 1. Acha. Let me just tell you why is it printing 1. First, let me just close this terminal, otherwise my laptop will hang, right? Yes. Chalo, theek. Now let's just quickly come here and let's just see. Okay. So here I have, and it is right. So chalo. Okay. Now let's see what is the problem here and why are we getting infinite amount of ones. So I have initialized a variable. Okay, very good. Right now, I'm just checking the condition, right? So let's suppose I am checking the condition here of 1 is less than equal to 10, right? I mean, it is right, 1 is less than equal to 10. Now, what am I doing here is I'm just printing the value of I, and what is that? It's I. So I'll just, this is the output window. Please ignore my handwriting if it's untidy, right? It would be understandable, at least I can guarantee that. So I'm just printing I, right? So I get 1 here and here as an answer. So since it is a while loop, it will just come here again. It will just check the condition is 1 less than 10. Again, it will check is 1 less than 10, right? It is. Again, it will print 1, right? Again, it will come to the while loop. It will check if 1 is less than 10. It is. Again, it will print. Again, it will check if 1 is less than 10. Again, it will print. Again, it will return a true value from here, and again, it will print 1, right? So what is missing here? In for loop, we had an increment operator right in the declaration part, right in the first line itself, right? But here I do not have any increment, right? I am not increasing a value. I'm neither decreasing a value. So what is happening, right? Remember I told you in the definition of the loop itself, it will run the while loop, or any loop will run until and unless the condition is satisfied, right? And when will the condition be satisfied? If and only if I return a false from here, right? If I permanently will have true, that is in this case 1 is less than equal to 10, it will be always, because I'm not even increasing or decreasing the value, it will print infinite amount of ones. So in order to correct that, right, I'll just have I plus plus here. Now it will work absolutely fine, because I'm increasing the amount of ones, and that is the only reason it is just printing. It will just print 1 to 10 numbers. So here it is, I print 1 to 10, and yep, I got the answer as 1 till 10, as simple as that, right? I hope it's clear to you, right? Why were we getting infinite amount of ones here, and why are we not getting that here in this one, right? So yes, that was all about while loops, and I request you to just go through do while is not, usually and nowadays, but I would just request you to read about do while loop, what does it do and how does it work, right? Just go ahead and just read about that, right? And if you have any doubts, you can let me know. I'm available on LinkedIn, and I'll also take boot camps here. We'll discuss that also, right? So chalo, with that, coming to the most exciting part and the most used part of C++, and those are none other than functions, right? So functions, again, why am I emphasizing functions? Why am I emphasizing more on functions? Because the only reason here is, if you not use functions in your code, right, your code will be good for nothing. Even when you give online, even when you give online assessments, right, even when you give companies assessments, they will tell you to only write functions. No company, or majority of the companies, will not tell you to write the whole code. They'll just in fact give you the function, and you just have to write the functional logic, and you'll be good to go, right? So with that being said, let me just come quick to the definition. What do you mean by a function, right? A function, right, a function is just a specific block of code. I remember the keyword block of code, right? Block of code that can be used in a program multiple number of times, right? That can be used in a program multiple number of times, right? So what do I mean by multiple number of times? Let me just skip the theory part, and let me just quick come to the implementation part. So let's suppose I have two numbers, right, and I want to add those two numbers. So what can I do here? So let's just quickly see. Let me just have a number int a as, let's suppose, 20, and int b as, let's suppose, 30, right? And I'm making a function here. How do we make a function? I'll tell you that, right? So it is You have to mention the keyword, right? I'll just tell you the what you have to just mention the data type. I'll just tell you that. Let me just completely finish, right? Int and the name of the function. Let's suppose I'm naming the function as add. And here I'll have two variables, right? So let's suppose int a and int b. Now what am I doing here is, let's suppose I just want to add two numbers. Let's suppose I'm having another variable that is int c, and int c is a plus b, and I'm just wanting to print out the value of c. Okay, now this add, right? I am just okay. Let me just have it void instead of int. Okay, what do you mean by void? I'll tell you that. Right, do not worry. And let me just call the function. I'm calling add, and I'm just passing a and b. Right. Okay. That being said, I've just completed the code. I'll just explain you what I did here. Let me just first run it and show you how it works. Right. So I have declared a variable called int a, that's 20. Right. I have declared a variable that's called int b, and that is 30. Now I have written something, right, and that is add. Right. What is add here? What is add? Right. It'll just okay. I'll just also zoom in. Not worry. Right. So what is add here? Now the add is a function. It will just see, okay, where is add initialized? It is declared here. It will just come here. It will just read those values and it will just add those values and it will just print me the answer. So let me just run it in front of you. So you get the answer here as 50. Right? Okay. I think it might be confusing for now. Let me just take a snapshot of it and let me just paste it here. Now you have a something called as a function. So I'll tell you, right? This here is a function invocation, right? This is called as function invocation. Right? That means you're invoking a function, right? And this is, right, this part is called as function declaration. Okay, now what is the difference between function invocation, function declaration? It's very simple, right? Declaration is like, it is how and when you declare a function, right? So this here is a function declaration, because I have declared a function. What will it do? What will it execute? Right? I'm just declaring a function. And invocation is, right, calling, right? So let's suppose you have declared a function, but you have not called a function. It will not work, right? So function declaration and function invocation, they both go hand in hand. In order to use a function, you have to invoke it. And let me just not invoke a function, and let me just try to print out the result. Right? Let me just see what do we get here as an answer. So we get nothing, right? Why did we not get anything? Because I have literally mentioned here C out C, right? Why are we not getting the answer of C? Because I have not invoked it. I have not called it. And how do I call it? I just call it by typing the function name and passing in the arguments. Okay, so I have two keywords. I'll tell you that, arguments and parameters. But for now, this is how a function works, right? So I come here, I see, okay, so this function is the function here is add, right? And it'll just check the name, right? It'll just compare the name. Okay, we have an add here as well, right? This a, right, the value of a will come here. The value of a will come here to line the value of a will come here. The value of b, that is 30, will come here. And I'll just add two numbers, int c equals to a plus b. It'll just add 20 plus 30, and I'll just see out, and I will get the result as 30 here. All right. So this how a function. Now, what is this void? Acha. Before telling you what is void, let me just have another case. Let me just have int c, that is add a plus b. Now, see, it literally says, right, a value of type void cannot be initialized an entity of type int. Now I'll just type in int here, and as a magic, you'll see that this error will be gone now, right? This error will be gone now. So what is int and what is void? So I'll tell you, right? Whenever you declare a function, it yeah, I was coming to that, but right? Whenever you declare a function, it expects you to return something, right? So let's suppose, right, everything in this world, right? Let's suppose everything in this world is not for free, right? Let's suppose I'm I'm teaching you, right? And you are getting some information from me, right? It is happening vice versa. I'm teaching and you are getting. Similarly, this is how actually a function works. If I'm sending something to a function, right, it has to give back to me something. If I mention a keyword called as int, right, it means that I need to return an integer value from here. I need to return an integer value from here. So I'll just see. I need to return an integer value. And why do I have to return an integer value? It's very simple, just because I've mentioned a data type of int here. And if it was void, right? So void, in English, void means nothing. If you just go to Google, go to ChatGPT, and just type what is the meaning of void, it will say nothing or empty, right? So if I just type void here, it will simply mean that I do not want to return anything. So if you use int, you have to return an integer data type. If you are using void, you do not have to return anything. And if you are using a char, you have to return a character. As simple as that, right? So I'm doing it int for now, and I'm just okay. I'll just show you the output for this one also, right? Remember earlier we did void, and this time we are doing int, and I'll get the same result here. The result we get here is as 50, right? Now why did we get? Because, right, I'm returning the value of c, and that c is coming here, right? So whenever I call this function, right, it will just return c, and on returning c, it will just store the value of c in this variable, and hence I will get the answer as 50. Whatever the answer is, I'll just get it, right? Even I can do this, right? Let's suppose I want to call it multiple times. Let's suppose I told you, right, function means calling it multiple times. So let's suppose I want to call it again. Let's suppose I'm having int d. This time I'm adding, let's suppose, but by the way, this is optional. Let's suppose you have a scenario in which you as a user want to give an output. So what will be in that case? Let's suppose I do not want a specific output. I just want user to give me the numbers. So I can just type 20. I can just type 30. Now let's suppose the second scenario is that I want the addition for 50, 40, and 50. So in this case, I can mention whatever result I want to. And if I run this, I will, I've not printed C. I've not, so let me print D as well, and let me just print NL. So let it be this one. Now, if you see now, I will get, for what is 40 plus 50, it's 90, right? I'll get 50 and I'll get 90. Int means return value should be integer, and void means it may or may not return a value, but be aware of calling sample. Yes. So exactly, right? Exactly. Yes, you're correct. So, right, I told you, now in this way, I'm having what? I'm having multiple numbers. In this case, I am, as a user, I have the flexibility of giving what the user wants. This is how exactly a calculator works, right? You just tell the calculator what to add, right? Let's suppose I am having another function called, let's suppose, int e, and this time I want to add 100 and 100, and I just want to see out e, right? So let's come here and let's just see what do we get, right? And we get 200 here as the answer, right? So remember to how do we call a function and how do we invoke a function. Now I told you about two keywords, and also very important interview question, right? And that is, what is the difference, and or what do you mean by a function and a parameter? Where is that? Yeah, right. So a function, sorry, a an argument, right? An argument is a thing. It is a variable it is a data type. Whenever we invoke a function, right, the what do you say, the integer or the data type that we have within these two brackets, those are called as arguments. But same thing, right, this will not be called as an argument. This here instead is called as a parameter. So a and b here are called arguments, and a and b here are called as parameters. So it is a very important interview question, that what is the difference between a parameter and an argument. So an argument is used to declare, an argument is a keyword when it is there when we invoke a function, whereas a parameter is one when it is declared whenever we declare a function, right? So this is the difference between an argument and a parameter. You can also take example. Let's suppose, this one, right? In this case, this here is an argument, and this here is a parameter, right? An argument is a value we pass, and parameter is a value we receive. Yes, exactly said by Om. Right? So please make sure to revise this. Acha, yeah, I think the spelling is correct, right? Parameter, P-A-R-A-M-E-T-E-R. Yes. All right. This is an argument, and this right here is a parameter. Now, acha, with that being said, I'll just quickly tell you how to download the certificates and how do you mark the attendance. I think the time has come when you'll get the certificates, right? So just go on to this website, LetsUpgrade.in. I hope you already know now. Just sign in, just refresh the page, right? Yeah, just go on to my programs and just go on to C++ programming. Right now, so today's day 3, right? Control statements and functions. I hope we all know what are functions for now. This here is, it is a small dialog box. How likely are you to recommend? I'm just typing in 10 for now. We have two programs initially, right? One is full stack and one is Java. For now, I'm interested in full stack course. I'm doing nothing, right? Now if I submit the attendance, now if I refresh, I'll get my progress bar to be around 69.23%, right? So this means that the bar has crossed 50%, and now I'll be eligible for certificates. Now remember, the certificates you'll get, though it will be available, the option you'll see here, the option will be available at around 7:30. I just wait for another 5 minutes or so. And so the most important part is, so now you have successfully wrapped up the 3-day bootcamp, right? Now what is your duty, right? So please pay attention here. Your first duty is what? Is to revise all the parts that we did on day 1, day 2, day 3, functions, data types, variables, ASCII values, on all these things. Second, and the most important part, right? You have to showcase what are you doing, right? And how will you showcase that, right? You can showcase on LinkedIn. I hope everyone knows what is LinkedIn for now, right? LinkedIn is again a very good platform in order to connect with like-minded people, to get jobs, to get referrals, to showcase recruiters, right? Recruiters, what are you capable of? And how will you showcase recruiters what are you capable of? By just showing them your skills, right? And how will you show them your skills? By certificates, by having skill set, by generating certificates, by showcasing your certificates. And not only the recruiters, right? Let's suppose you want to have, let's suppose you have let's suppose I'm not a recruiter. Let's suppose I'm a software developer, and I have an opening in my company, right? And I see you, so you are very active on LinkedIn, you are posting certificates, you are doing courses. So when there's an opening in my company, I might, just refer you for that. I can know, okay, so there was a guy who was regularly uploading certificates, who was regularly taking initiative, and that, effort, right? That effort is showed by how you be active on LinkedIn. And how will you be active on LinkedIn? By showcasing your LinkedIn, showcasing your skills, showcasing your certificates. So it's a request for all of you, right? Whenever you get the certificate here, please showcase it on LinkedIn. That okay, just tag LetsUpgrade, tag me. So what is my LinkedIn ID? I'll just tell you the LinkedIn ID of LetsUpgrade and me. So just go on to LinkedIn, right? Just type in Ritik Masand. So I hope you, by the way, you all know what my name is. It's Ritik Masand, right? This is my user ID, right? So Ritik Masand, you'll see this kind of an interface here, right? I'll just mention the name here in the Excel drawer as well, right? And just mention me, just mention LetsUpgrade. So it will help you to recognize, okay, so you did a course from LetsUpgrade. And so yeah, this is the LetsUpgrade YouTube channel. Sorry, not YouTube, the LinkedIn channel, right? Please follow LetsUpgrade, please, so that you can be up to date, right? So make sure whenever you're uploading certificates, just tag LetsUpgrade, tag me, right? Tag the members if you want to, right? And just showcase that, hey, I have done the certificates. I got to learn about functions. I got to learn about data types. I got to learn about ASCII values, right? And I got to learn about, all the things that you learned about, right? So it'll help you reach in the eyes of recruiter. It'll help you to, just be active on LinkedIn. If you're active, if you have a very good engagement on LinkedIn, it'll help you to get easy jobs easier. Sir, I don't get enough response from LinkedIn. How can I increase the chances of getting response? So Vanshika, the first and foremost reason is, start using LinkedIn, right? How will you start using LinkedIn? Just type in a quote, just type in what did you learn today. Let's suppose you are doing a question from lead code, right? Just mention, okay, so this is the question that I did, and I used so and so approach to solve this question, right? So you can just ask, so can you please send me in comment box what could be a better approach? Just be active, right? Just at least try and post something. Start with so post your certificates, post your response, post your queries. Let's suppose you are looking for a job, right? You can even, right, just uh, post on LinkedIn that, hey, I am this and I have these skills. So if anyone is there who can refer me for a job, you can go ahead with that also, right? So, right, this is the importance of LinkedIn. And just trust me, right? LinkedIn can be a lifesaver for you if you're active on LinkedIn, right? It is a very, very, very important tool, important than Instagram, right? Important than Facebook. So make the full use of it, right? Make the full use of it. Now, with that being said, I hope you'll just upload the certificates. Just tag, right? Just tag me, just tag LetsUpgrade, and just showcase your skills, right? And coming to the next point, how do we submit the assignment? So here you have an option to see the assignment, right? And as soon as you, right, just see the assignment, just either go on to GitHub, or I told you yesterday, you can also paste the code on Google Doc link and attach the Google Doc link here itself, right? So you can do that also. And talking about the courses, currently have two courses. One is the Java DSA, one is full stack. So I hope you all know that it is not possible to cover all the things in a 3-day bootcamp, 3-hour bootcamp. If you're very serious about tech career, you want to pursue tech ahead, just go on to this course, right? Just maybe try out this course. It has extensive 3 months of DSA training, 120 plus hours of live session, 3 mock interviews, 100 plus problem to solve, and things like that, right? So please make the full use of it. Similar, and the fees is around 5,900, right? So, and one more thing, we also have a full stack course. If you are really interested in full stack development, right, both the front end part and the back end part, just go ahead for this one. If you have anything else you want to ask, you can go get in touch with the team. They'll get back to you. Okay, so the certificate you'll get at 7:30, right? Just wait. And talking about what? Talking about the B.Tech program. We currently have we currently have a B.Tech program going on, right? So the link is present in the description box. Just type in LetsUpgrade. Okay. Just come here to the description box. You'll see an option here that will join India's first B.Tech program, right? Just click on this link, right? If you're someone who's looking for pursuing B.Tech and who is willing to just go start their B.Tech journey, you can just consider this part as well, right? How is it different from other B.Tech programs? It's just that they'll have a job. You have a job guarantee of minimum 8 lakhs per annum, right? So you can just, if you want to be have a full proof about the job, just go ahead with this program, and you just let the team know if you are interested for that. And if the second one we have is a referral program, right? So if you have your cousins, if you have your friends who are interested uh, uh, in the course, right, you can just refer them, and if they join the link via your referral link, you will get rupees 80,000 or a MacBook Air 1, right? So please, if you are interested, just go through that as well. And I hope the certificates are live now. So let me just see. So let's just come here. How do you get the certificate? Just go on to my programs again, and just click on C++ programming, and here you see the option to generate the certificate, right? So Kundan, here it is, right? It's in front of you. Here is an option to generate the certificate, and please click on generate certificate and it will be generated for you. So that is all about C++ bootcamp, right? I hope you all got to learn something for that, at least, right, in the 3 days bootcamp. Please make sure to practice, please make sure to code, please make sure to, you know, if you have any kind of even the silliest of doubt, do not hesitate to ask those doubts with your mentors, right? I'm also available on LinkedIn. I just shared you my LinkedIn ID. So this is my LinkedIn ID. Yep, here it is, right? Okay, I'm also just typing it, just texting it here. Maybe the Marsh will send it across, right? So here is the LinkedIn ID. We can just connect on LinkedIn. We can just, you know, see or just have a basic what do you say, coordination of, let's suppose if you are having some doubts related to your career, related to anything, you can just get in touch, right? You can just ask me anything if you want to. I'll be more than happy to assist you guys, right? With that being said, I'll just take your leave, right? I hope you really enjoyed the boot camps. Again, please make sure to practice, please make sure to code, and I'll most probably see you in other boot camps, right? With that being said, I'll take your leave, and bye bye everyone.